Triple flicks, wop me up, wop me up.
Yo, 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 it's Biz, Triple Flicks Mafia, here to do my top 5 countdown for underrated horror movies. You've already watched the other fellas, so I'm wrapping it up for this month. I really have enjoyed this topic, over the month. Kind of get a variety of films. And the 5 I'm talking about, a few I've talked about in the past, on streams or older videos, whatever it might be, but then I think there's a couple that I haven't talked about before. There's one that I just watched recently that I'm all about, but let's get right into this. Let's not waste any time. Number 5, the Poughkeepsie tapes. I hate saying the title of this, Poughkeepsie. This is a release from Scream Factory. I want to say 2017 release. Yeah, but it's a 2008 film, and the first time I heard about this movie, I think, was on Absolute Sublime on Jay's channel. I heard him talking about it, and I scooped it, and I just think it's a really, super effective movie. It's kind of set up like a documentary. It's one of those movies, as you're watching it, you're like, is this real? Because, they really sell this thing as being real. The way it's shot, it feels just like something you would watch on TV, like a Dateline NBC or 2020, but it goes really in depth about this serial killer, I forgot his name, the Water Street Butcher. And this serial killer, obviously, he's going around kidnapping kids and killing women and yada yada yada, but he leaves behind tapes for the FBI or the cops to find, and this killer is just crazy, and there's some scenes in this movie that are just really effective. It's really scary, not horror movie type of scary, but just real life type of scary. We've never been able, me and Chad, I watched this for the second time with Chad, and we still haven't gotten Tony to pick it up. He's not a big fan of I think just the subject matter. It's a little bit, it's real. It feels real. And, it's harder to watch. It has a really kind of gritty ending, the way it all wraps up. I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it. But if you're into just a really intense, thriller, dramatic movie, I think you should check this one out. It's just very effective. All I can really say is just check it out. If you like that true crime type of stuff, and you don't mind scenes with kids and people being kidnapped and held against their will, and even some of the horror elements, the serial killer, there's some shots where it's very, it almost feels kind of like a Saw movie at times. But really effective. I'm a big fan of it. Poughkeepsie tapes, my number 5. My number 4, House of the Devil. This is what's his name? His name always leaves me. Ty West film. This was a blind buy for me a few years ago. I blind bought this and another one of his movies called Innkeepers. And ended up liking this one. Innkeepers, not so much. I ended up selling that movie not too long ago. But this feels kind of like a, it's a 2009 movie, but it's shot almost like it's a 70s horror movie, the style of it. It's about a girl that, I think she's in college or something. She just needs some money. And she sees a posting for a house sitter, or a babysitter or something like that. And so she goes out to this creepy house to, I guess, house sit overnight, and meets kind of this weird couple. I don't know if you recognize that guy. But, I think they just say they're going out to a party or something like that, and she can tell right off the bat that this huge house and the way like this couple talks, like they're really strange. But then stuff starts going down in this house throughout the night. It's kind of a slow burn, but I think it's a very like effective, like really good slow burn. Very creepy. It gets kind of like, you know, just nonstop crazy towards the end. Once again, I don't want to spoil anything, but just has that classic feel. It has some really gritty scenes. It has some scenes like where because it does move kind of slow, so when stuff starts happening, it kind of catches you off guard. And I just think it's like really well done. So if you haven't seen House of the Devil, definitely check it out. I think it goes for about $20 everywhere, but if you ever run across it for cheap, I mean, I'd say spend $20 on it. I think it's that good. But yeah, check it out. House of the Devil. That's my number 4. Number 3. That would be Last Shift. Shout out to Slasher Junkie Paul. He watched this not too long ago and talked about it on one of his videos, and I think out of like all the movies he was talking about in that one particular video, this is the one he recommended the most. I've always seen this cover. I mean, I'll be honest, seeing that cover always kind of like freaked me out a little bit, so I was like, you know, like I think I might stay away from that one. But I ended up getting it just based off of his recommendation, and I loved it. I thought it was so creepy. I love the setting of it. It's about this new girl. She's a cop, like a new cop, and she gets brought in to stay overnight at the there's a police station that she has to stay overnight at. She's the only cop working while I think they're closing down that police station and moving to a new one, but it's the last night of the old police station like being open, and so she has to stay there and just kind of manage it overnight. And you know, it obviously starts to kind of make sense while they're leaving this old cop station. And I mean, just some horrific scenes. The atmosphere in this movie is just incredible, and the scary stuff, the monsters and demons, whatever you want to say, very effective, terrifying. But this, what year did this come out? You think I would know this stuff before I start shooting. I think 2015. I don't know if that's the movie, or maybe 2014. I don't know if that's when the movie came out or if that's when the Blu-ray came out. But it's very effective. That girl right there is like the cop, the young cop. And then, I mean, you can see just from a few of those images, like there's just a lot going on in this this police station that she's staying at. So check this out if you haven't. I mean, you can get it for cheap. I think it goes $10 maybe, $12 at most. Highly recommend this one. Really, really good movie. It's put out by Magnet Films. So, yeah, Last Shift. All right, number 2. Getting to a DVD here. I think this has a Blu-ray overseas, but for the US, we only got a DVD for it. Certified fresh, Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of strange for a movie like this to get that little sticker or whatever. But that is Southbound. I can't remember how I ran across this movie. I remember back in the day when me and the fellas were always going to Hastings and stuff. I want to say Chad picked up this movie first because it is put out. I wanted to say it was Scream Factory, but it's not. I think what kind of drew us to it is that, yeah, from the filmmakers who brought you VHS, which I'm a big fan of the VHS movies. So I think just coming off of like that little note at the top of the DVD, I was like kind of interested in it. And I don't know, there was just something about this that just kind of intrigued me. And so I want to say that Chad got it first, and he liked it. So I eventually got the DVD and watched it. And it's an anthology film, which I love horror, you know, anthologies. And I just thought it was really clever. It's kind of like a road trip movie. Well, you know, for the first story, it's these two guys out in the middle of the desert. And I mean, once the movie starts, it's already kicking. and it kind of leads through like what they're doing, and then that leads to a new setting where you meet some new people, and it, you know, it just keeps twisting around through all these different storylines, and it does kind of wrap itself up at the very end, I think, nicely. You know, it's not like an older film, it's set more in like modern time, but I thought it was done really well, and you get a mixture of stuff in it, you know, all the way from you know, hospital scenes to vampires to like demonic, you know, like Satan worshiping, and I mean just a variety of stuff. And thought it was done really, really well. And this is one I just don't ever hear anybody talk about. We've talked about it, you know, me and the fellas, we've all watched it, and everybody seems to be a big fan of it. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely find this DVD for cheap. There's no way it's expensive. If I had a region-free player, I would get that overseas Blu-ray, which also has a slipcover. But yeah, Southbound, check it out. Really fun. If you're into anthology movies, it's a really fun movie. So check it out. And then last but not least, number 1. Bones. A lot of people think I'm just kind of goofing around when I talk about this movie because, you know, it's like a hood horror movie. It's got Snoop Dogg in it. But man, like, this movie's actually pretty good. I mean, it's kind of dated. It's got that mid-90s, late 90s feel to it. I should just know the year off the top of my head, but I don't. And I can't find it. But I mean, it's definitely like mid to late 90s, early 2000s at best. I just cannot find it. But anyways, it's all about Snoop Dogg. His name is Jimmy Bones, and he used to be like, it has these flashback scenes where he used to be like a pimp and like a gangster, obviously Snoop Dogg, and they end up, this house is haunted with Jimmy Bones. I mean, you know, in the present day, and these kids move by this place to rent it out to make like a nightclub. And, you know, so it's just about these kids trying to like get started, and it's got Pinky from Friday in it. And while these kids are trying to run their nightclub, obviously they're in the building where Jimmy Bones used to be. And so, you know, all this stuff starts happening, and it all starts falling apart at the end. So it's kind of got like that late 90s, early 2000s vibe to it, like with all these kids starting up this nightclub. But it's really, I think the flashback scenes are some of my favorite scenes in the movie, when you kind of get the backstory of Snoop Dogg's character with Jimmy Bones. But this would make a great Scream Factory. I could just see like the artwork that would be created from a movie like this. And, you know, anybody that I've ever talked to that's actually seen this movie, for the most part, likes it. I don't know, it's one I just randomly watched way back in the day, sometime in high school, probably just because it was Snoop Dogg. I think I saw it like on, you know, late night TV or something, and I've just enjoyed it ever since. I mean, this Blu-ray, or this DVD is like $5. It's so cheap. But a really fun movie. I really enjoy it. Always recommend it to people. And hopefully it at least gets a Blu-ray at some point. I think it would make a cool Scream Factory, but just give me a Blu-ray for it. So that's my number 1, Bones. That's all I got for you. I hope y'all enjoyed this. If you haven't seen any of these 5 movies, I say check them out. You know, it's the whole point of us making videos like this, is if there's something you haven't seen and we sparked your interest whatsoever, definitely check it out. If you've seen all of them, leave down in the comments below like what you think about them. If you like them, if you don't like them, it doesn't really matter. I'm down to hear everybody's opinion, and we'll just be moving on to the next top 5 countdown for April. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun to make. I always enjoyed, you know, talking about a variety of films rather than just some of the popular films that everybody likes. So anyways, I appreciate you watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thanks for tuning in to Triple Flicks Mafia. I'm the Biz. Y'all have a good day. Peace out.